Every night, the elderly vampire would appear on the streets to beg. It was hard to imagine that a being with immortality could fall so low, reduced to a starving, homeless wanderer. But before the old man could bare his fangs at passers-by, patrolling vampire guards would swiftly extend their stun batons and take him down on the spot. The pedestrians around seemed long accustomed to this terrifying scene, hiding in the shadows and watching coldly. Their current state all stemmed from a disaster unleashed 10 years ago by a single vampire bat. Over 90% of humanity had been infected by the virus, transforming into bloodthirsty vampires. They emerged at night, laying the foundation of a completely new social system. Yet as the vampire population grew, immortality seemed more like a curse. The entire city required enormous amounts of fresh blood every day just to barely function. The few remaining humans had become the vampire's only food source, and a single mistake could land someone in a specialized farm, used purely as a living blood reservoir. Even this massive consumption wasn't enough to sustain the entire vampire empire. Working-class vampires survived only by purchasing diluted blood from cafes, while the lower-tier vampires, unable to replenish fresh blood for long periods, gradually lost their sanity. They began to bite their companions, and some even diluted their own blood to drink. But consuming the blood of their own kind accelerated a regressive transformation, turning them into mindless killing monsters. To keep society running, vampires had to find blood substitutes before human resources ran out. Otherwise, the entire vampire civilization would collapse. Edward, as the leading expert in blood research, had a primary goal: to decode the genetic code and develop artificial blood as soon as possible. Pressured by the higher-ups, he had no choice but to speed up the process, skipping animal trials and moving directly to human testing. Under the eager eyes of the executives, the experiment began. Edward injected his homemade artificial blood into vampire volunteers, continuously asking about their sensations. Initially, everything seemed normal, pulses stable, no abnormalities. But as the dosage increased, the volunteers began to show rejection reactions. Horrifying blisters appeared on their skin. Edward attempted to rescue them with a serum, but the volunteers suddenly exploded and died. The painstakingly developed artificial blood had failed once again and could not be used. When leaving the company, Edward noticed the number of people at the blood collection station gradually decreasing. He felt pity but was powerless. On the way home, the radio reported more and more cities rioting due to blood shortages. At that moment, Edward noticed something strange about his ears. Glancing into the car mirror, he immediately realized this was the early stage of mutation caused by long-term blood feeding. Unintentionally, his vehicle suddenly swerved off course, nearly colliding with an oncoming car. The other driver lost control and crashed into a roadside building, while Edward managed to brake just in time to save his life. After calming himself, he rushed out to inspect the situation, only to see a woman emerging from the other car, armed with a crossbow.